Sandman.
He was very squat and pot-bellied, his head was more like a monstrous toad than a deity, and his whole body was covered with an imitation of short fur, giving somehow a vague sensation of both the bat and the sloth. His sleepy lids were half lowered over his globular eyes, the tip of a queer tongue issued from his fat mouth. Greetings, friends. Howard Lovecraft's universe is incredibly terrifying and mysterious. In the pages of his stories you can find the most unimaginable creatures, the description of which will strike fear into even the most resistant and inquisitive minds. In this video, I will tell you about another creepy, godlike creature, also known as Tsathoggua. Tsathoggua is a mystical and grotesque entity in the Cthulhu Mythos universe, that appears in several stories by horror and fantasy Howard Lovecraft and Clark Ashton Smith and is part of his Hyperborean cycle. Tsathoggua is described as an old one, a godlike being from the pantheon. He was introduced in Smith's short story, The Tale of Tsathoggua, written in 1929 and published in the November 1931 issue of Weird Tales. His first appearance in print, however, was in Howard Lovecraft's story, The Whisperer in Darkness, written in 1930 and published in the August 1931 issue of Weird Tales. Tsathoggua is described as having a large, furry, toad-like form, with a head similar to that of an amphibian, commonly likened to a giant frog or toad. He possesses a wide mouth that runs from side to side on his head and is filled with rows of sharp, pointed teeth. His body is covered in coarse black or green fur and his arms and legs end in large flippers or webbed hands and feet. Writer Robert Price notes that Lovecraft's Tsathoggua and Smith's differ at practically every point. Lovecraft, dropping Smith's bat and sloth comparisons, refers to the entity in The Whisperer in Darkness as the amorphous, toad-like god creature mentioned in the Pnakotic manuscripts and the Necronomicon and the Camorrium myth cycle preserved by the Atlantean high priest Clark Ashton. Tsathoggwa's origins are ancient and mysterious. He is known by many names across different cultures and lands, being referred to variously as the Sleeper of Nkai, the God of the Slime Pits, or Tsathoggua. He is believed to have been spawned on the world of Yuggoth, also known as Pluto, in ages past before voyaging through space to take up residence on the planet Nkai located at the rim of the universe. Here Tsathoggua dwelled, sleeping in endless hibernation in the depths of a series of vast caverns and interconnected tunnels known as the Vaults of Zin. Over countless eons Tsathoggua slumbered, existing as little more than a protoplasmic mass incommensurate with any terrestrial life form. Eventually, mysterious psychic vibrations from early humans as they evolved on Earth resonated with Tsathoggwa's alien consciousness, rousing him partially from torpor. These vibrations allowed Tsathoggua to extend a portion of his essence across gulfs of space to make contact with fledgling humanity. In the ancient land of Hyperborea, located in the Arctic during prehistoric times, Tsathoggua initially interacted with and influenced the indigenous peoples there. The primitive Hyperboreans erected a colossal temple to honor Tsathoggua, adorning it with grand idols and plinths carved in the entity's imagined likeness. The slumbering god communicated with his worshippers via their dreams, issuing bizarre commands, imparting alien knowledge, and demanding blood sacrifices and other macabre rites be carried out in his glory. Over the next millions of years as new civilizations arose elsewhere across the globe, knowledge of Tsathoggua as a god extended to such lands as Mu, Lemuria, and Atlantis in antediluvian times. Occult groups and secret societies in these primordial ages tapped into the cosmic power of this entity through esoteric ceremonies and rituals. As humanity advanced, many new cults emerged around the world venerating Tsathoggua, with the being acquiring different names and guises across myriad ancient cultures. With the sinking of Atlantis and Hyperborea during past cataclysms and disasters, the influence of Tsathoggua receded dramatically. In the modern era, few civilizations retained any lore or awareness of this ancient cosmic deity. Remote and isolated groups continued secret traditions venerating this alien god, including the ancient Olmec culture in South America which knew Tsathoggua as Zulu. On the Pacific island of Ponape, ruined Cyclopean stones and architecture built eons ago by unknown hands were linked to the frog-like god Tulska. It was not until the 20th century that Tsathoggua rose to more widespread fame and interest again in the Western world. Howard Lovecraft included this malignant extra-dimensional entity in his seminal short story, The Mound, 1940, co-written with Zealia Bishop. Lovecraft penned evocative passages featuring Tsathoggua that firmly embedded the gigantic frog-like god into the emerging Cthulhu mythos alongside other cosmic horrors like Cthulhu and Yog-Sothoth. In that secret cave, they had sealed up immemorial years before all that remained of the monstrous blasphemy that had gnawed at the souls of generations of festering Norlanders, the awful madness that had sent them in search of the missing Nameless One, and that had brought them to the depths of fantastic nightmare. For the relic was Tsathoggua fabulous, formless Tsathoggua, the idle and amorphous god who had dwelt betwixt the peaks of Yadith-Go after adventuring down from a monstrously distant world. Lovecraft's associate Clark Ashton Smith also prominently featured Tsathoggua in several stories, cementing the deity's role in the shared Cthulhu mythos. Others expanded on its lore and cult worship, depicting the entity as spawning batrachian life on Earth or lurking in caverns beneath the hills of Arkansas. Tsathoggua and its consciousness apparently still spread between Kai, Yuggoth, and sites on Earth via network gates. The extent of Tsathoggwa's powers are not fully known but seem focused on psychic domination and influence over susceptible minds, especially those offering devotion or sacrifices to it. The god appears able to mutate life and manipulate matter, creating hybrid toad-human spawn and enlarging its vile amphibian followers. Worshippers derive magical powers and blessings of fertility from Tsathoggua, though the price is descending into a hypnotic stupor and the eventual loss of their sanity and self-identity. The disturbing and chaotic nature of Tsathoggua is reflective of its primordial origins in the cosmic gulfs outside the known universe and within the boundless voids that lie between galaxies. The god seems to delight in decadence and sadism, violating the natural order and spurring perversion in its followers. Yet its motivations and goals beyond deceiving desperate dreamers into its grasp are unclear. It lingers as one of the most physically repulsive but also mystifying great old ones within the Cthulhu pantheon.